Did you know that 21 Pilots songs are on average 316 words long, and that 54% of their songs mention or are about God and faith? Or did you know that while only 49% of all their songs contain a rap, a much higher 70% of their most popular songs do? Using the power of spreadsheets, I want to explain to you exactly how 21 Pilots writes their lyrics. How does one go about breaking down a band like 21 Pilots into a list of trends and tendencies in how they write their lyrics? They are a band whose lyrics mean so much to so many people, including me. And if you know the power of these lyrics, you've cried tears listening to these songs. You've gone to their concerts for support you couldn't find anywhere else. And you've learned more about the world and yourself while listening to 21 Pilots and songwriter Tyler Joseph. So after 10 hours of research computing all the metrics and data behind the lyrics from Self-Titled, Vessel, and Blurryface, Regional at Best is good but was too similar to Vessel, I want to explain to you the finer points of Tyler's lyric writing tendencies. Want to learn how to write lyrics like 21 Pilots? Stick around until the end of the video and I'll tell you about my brand new course that will teach you how to write lyrics just like 21 Pilots. Let's start with what their songs are about, particularly the newest topic in 21 Pilots lore, Blurryface. Blurryface is a character that Tyler invented to describe the evil inside of him. This character prompts him to do bad things, tells him he's worthless, and encourages him to depression and suicide. While Blurryface themes seem to make discrete appearances in 14% of self-titled songs, he understandably jumps up to 50% in Vessel and 57% in the album Blurryface. Self-Titled as an album was more about fans, friends and family, faith, and suicidal thoughts, each showing up in about 43% of the songs on the album. Meanwhile, in Vessel and Blurryface, we hear a consistent upward trend in mentions of or allusions to Blurryface, vulnerability on Tyler's part, faith, the music industry, and Tyler's songwriting process. From Self-Titled through Vessel through Blurryface, these topics become more and more important to who the band is. In fact, only two general 21 Pilots topics trend down consistently across the albums: family and friends, and fans. Mentions of family and friends slide from 43 to 25 to 21%, and mentions of fans slide from 43 to 33 to 14%, complementing another trend I saw, Tyler getting more abstract over the course of the albums and less focused on concrete ideas or people. While Self-Titled has large elements focusing on others, we see his tendency to touch on philosophical topics go from 43 to 67 to 71%, and his tendency to develop song ideas from a central concrete image or metaphor, like in the Pantaloon or Taxicab, goes from 64 to 50 to 14%. His songs become less grounded in single word pictures and more focused on broader concepts. We also see a small shift in his songs, from being largely emotionally focused to being largely logically focused, even though there will always be some overlap. It seems that as he becomes less focused on family, friends, and fans, and more focused on his own self and his inner thoughts, his albums tend to become more logic and thought-based. It's a hard thing to measure, so I won't share percentages, but Tyler does seem to begin to spend more time talking about interesting thoughts or concepts, like in Ride or Car Radio, and less time expressing strong emotions, like in Goner or Tear in My Heart. Next, let's talk about how the band builds its songs. After all, in Laneboy, Tyler tells us there's a few songs on this record that feel common, and then goes on to say that he's in constant confrontation with what I want and what is poppin'. Songwriting is difficult for no one more so than for successful songwriters. Do you write what the fans have wanted to hear up to this point, or do you write what you want to tell them? And like any band, 21 Pilots has changed its tune since its first album, one of the most notable differences being the average length of the songs. Self-titled songs average only 251 words, while Vessel and Blurryface each average almost exactly 350 per song. Now, despite more words being added, the songs also tend to get more repetitive. Self-titled songs were an incredibly small 10% repetitive, but Vessel rose to 17%, and Blurryface is at 32%. Thus, while there were an average 25 words of repetition in self-titled songs, Blurryface songs have an average of about 112 words of repetition. But before you go start hating 21 Pilots for being less unique, or start thinking that being repetitious means that an artist is being lazy or selling out, consider that some of the most popular 21 Pilots songs are actually among the most repetitious. Among the most popular songs from Vessel and Blurryface, like Heavy Dirty Soul, Stressed Out, Car Radio, Holding On To You, and others, Repetition reaches about 31%, suggesting that fans might actually enjoy a little repetition in their music. While much has changed in Tyler's songwriting, two important things have not. The first is that Tyler consistently rhymes in an AA-BB or AB-AB pattern the majority of the time, unless he's doing a rap and decides to just pick a sound and add as many words as possible that sound similar, a poem writing strategy that reminds us that many of his raps begin as spoken word. Another amazingly consistent trend across the albums is that the percentage of lines that contain a word that intentionally rhymes with another word ranges from only 80 to 82% across all three albums. This means that Tyler has consistently and highly valued rhyme in his writing and continues to do so. The difference now is that a much larger portion of that rhyme is procured through repetition. To be completely fair and recognizing that choruses often repeat lines, I counted the number of times that Tyler rhymes non-chorus lines using the same words. He does it 3% of the time in self-titled, 13% of the time in Vessel, and 18% of the time in Blurry Face. Does using lazy rhymes like these mean that 21 Pilots is losing quality? Probably not. It does mean that Tyler is growing and changing as a songwriter, and that his record label is helping with and encouraging songs that are something like what you would hear on the radio. At first that can sound dangerous for hardcore true fans, but Blurry Face was a huge success, even with old fans, so they don't seem to mind too much. And that leads us nicely to one of the things in 21 Pilots music that can never be averaged or measured: stanza structure. I tried to calculate out which structures were most likely to occur in the albums, and it was hard, especially with self-titled. Remember how Tyler sings about changing the tempo and time signatures for his songs in Lane Boy? You don't hear those techniques often in pop music because they can be confusing for audiences, but especially in self-titled, 21 Pilots is not worried about confusing audiences. On that album, only 2 songs had the same structure, and the average structure could best be described as verse-chorus, with a lot of other random stuff everywhere. The band settles down for Vessel though, and we see a bridge and another chorus added to that pattern. And finally in Blurry Face, Tyler starts to make common use of pre-choruses to transition from narrative elements and verses to themes and choruses. This is a pretty standard pattern, but it's still only an average. And the thing about averages is that the average of 4 and 6 is the same as the average of 1 and 9. There are too many outliers and crazy patterns to be able to categorize 21 Pilots song structure accurately. Finally, let's talk about what makes a 21 Pilots mega hit. To do so, I've pulled up some of their most popular songs from their latter 2 albums and added Heathens. Unfortunately, because the self-titled songs are so much less popular on an industry scale, I didn't add them, but that doesn't mean that they're not good. Here's what I found. 21 Pilots hits are on an average 412 words long, longer than the average for any album. Fans want more, and they apparently don't mind some of that being repetition, since the average repetition for these 10 songs is 30%. This repetition gives fans an easier time learning to sing along, and interestingly, the average use of repeated words to rhyme, aka lazy rhyming, comes out to only 13% or Vessel era levels. But the mega hits get really interesting when you look at what topics the band covers and what approaches they use. For instance, 80% of the mega hits come from a strong, rationally focused approach, while only 30% are what I would call emotional. Fans like it a lot when Tyler Joseph thinks about things. And this is probably a result of there being so little thinking available in mainstream music. Tyler's fans appreciate the fact that he's willing to ponder with them and answer or at least ask difficult questions. Also, fans seem to like it when Tyler sings about his songwriting process and when he gets vulnerable with his audience. Whether that vulnerability concerns faith, Blurry Face, God, or suicidal thoughts, all of these songs talk about something personal, and 5 of the 10 get incredibly vulnerable. Interestingly too, of all those topics, suicide was the highest individually represented one at 4 out of 10 songs. It's a well-known fact that 21 Pilots has deep and encouraging things to say about the struggle against depression, and that's why many fans gravitate towards the band. But whether it's a smash hit like Stressed Out, or a superfan-only song like Ruby or Forest, the important thing about 21 Pilots is that they care about their fans. Their lyrics reveal a passion for encouraging and empowering those who listen. By sharing his struggles and the dark part of his thoughts, Tyler Joseph helps fans to realize that they're not alone, that their struggles don't make them bad people, and that someone understands. So whether you're a hardcore, since the beginning, memorize every lyric fan, or just someone who nodded their head when they heard Tyler singing about having to grow up too fast and stressed out, 21 Pilots is meant for you. And that feeling of purpose, of understanding, and of honesty is why we like 21 Pilots so much. Also the Sickest Frick raps. If you want to write song lyrics just like 21 Pilots, I have created a course just for you. And it's called How to Write Lyrics Like 21 Pilots. So you know it's good. But seriously guys, we're gonna go over stanza structure, how to sound like the band, how to write those sick as frick raps, how to do the kind of rhymes that Tyler Joseph does, where to find the topics that he comes up with, how to affect people with your lyrics and make your fans feel something. We're gonna talk about the overarching themes of 21 Pilots music, but we're also gonna take in-depth case study looks at particular songs. It's going to be incredible. The link is down in the description. I would love for you to sign up and to tell your friends about it. Even if you just want to find out more about how 21 Pilots writes lyrics, we go more in depth on the content we talked about in this video. And if you're a teacher, talk to me about a special discount for your entire classroom. I'm serious guys, this course is one of the coolest things I've ever made and I cannot wait to share it with you. Link is down in the description. And if you want to learn more about this, maybe a specific list of topics or which songs we're going to be using as examples and going really deep on, check out the link in the description. It'll take you to a page that'll tell you a little bit more about the course and you can sign up there. So if you're a fan of what I do, this is a great way to get more and to learn how to write those 21 Pilots lyrics. Oh, and if you want to keep watching and you're a 21 Pilots super fan, check out my video about explaining every single 21 Pilots song in under 6 minutes. And if you're just a fan of analyzing lyrics deeply and getting really behind the meat of everything, you should check out my video about how The Weeknd writes song lyrics. That guy is deep. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you next time.